Welcome to the As Yet Untitled podcast.
With your hosts, Tony and Shaun. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a month.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, depending if you're binge listening.
Yeah, but it's been roughly a month anyway. But yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about the best film or TV soundtracks. And this also this is including original scores and mixtapes.
Yeah.
But we are not including musicals or music documentaries because, well, we've already talked about it with Dan. We spoke about musicals with Dan anyway.
Yeah, we haven't done a music documentaries one, maybe in the future, but we have done a musicals one, and you should go check that out. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So anything that was mentioned there will not be mentioned here, for obvious reasons. They aren't soundtracks, they are just musicals. Yeah, so we do have that. Go find it. But for today, we're just talking about the best film or TV soundtracks. Because...
Yeah. And they could, as you said, like the originals or mixtapes. So it can be, covers that are compiled together to make a great soundtrack, or it can be like original compositions. I'm going to warn you in advance, there's probably going to be a lot of listing songs in this episode. But if you're looking for lots of cool songs, this is exactly where you want to be. And don't worry, you're not going to have to quickly take notes or something. We've got a playlist that we're putting together, which has all of the songs that we talk about in this episode. So you can click the link in the description of the YouTube video or on our social medias or whatever. You can just go find us at the As Yet Untitled podcast, and you'll be able to find the link to the playlist, so you can have a listen through all of the stuffs.
Yeah, and it'll be pretty easy to find them anyway if you are like, I haven't really thought of that before. Most of them, if you type in the title and then playlist, you'll find it.
Yeah, pretty much all of them are available on Spotify and stuff. For the most part.
Yeah, some of them are missing a lot of it on Spotify, but that's fine.
Right, who wants to start? Do you want to start? Shall I start?
I'll let you start, because I know that you got a couple big uns in there.
Alright, I'm going to go straight off with Top Gun here, right? Not the film. Okay, that's bad phrasing I'm using here. Okay, let's start that again. What I'm doing, I am going in with my number one here, because I've got a lot to say about it, basically. Okay. And it's, something for people that have listened before, you're going to expect this from me. And that's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Straight up, the soundtrack to Star Wars is like the greatest soundtrack ever made. I'll fight people for that. When talking about the originals, the prequels, and the sequels, maybe a little bit about Rogue One, because Rogue One's incredible, but I don't really care about the spin-off films too much, and I'm not going to talk about the TV shows either. So, right, it's awesome. Almost every single species or person has a musical theme. They've got their own musical theme, and it changes dependent on the emotion or the circumstance they're experiencing.
Yeah.
Because John Williams, who is the composer, in case you didn't know, is just a genius. It's kind of widely known, and I agree, that the music in Star Wars tells more of the story than any of the visuals or the dialogue. George Lucas actually often said that the films are like silent cinema, and that it's the music more than the dialogue that narrates the action. Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
You could definitely watch it without the dialogue and still know what's happening through.
And there's actually clips of at least A New Hope where they've taken out the music, and it's just it's with the same scene without the music, and it looks stupid.
Right.
The whole Darth Vader scene in the hallway, it just doesn't feel right. And as soon as you add the music in, it adds exactly what it needs to actually make it feel powerful. Few films have as catchy as a main title as Star Wars to begin with, right? Everyone knows the main theme of Star Wars. And it has opened every single Star Wars film.
Yeah.
With the exception of the spin-offs Rogue One and Solo. But that song actually began as the melody for Luke Skywalker. And it was written in the key of B-flat major, so it would flow exactly from Alfred Newman's iconic 20th century Fox fanfare. So the 20th century Fox music...
Yeah.
They wanted it to flow perfectly from that into the opening, so they made it in the same key. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And John Williams composes all of his themes to be pliable, so when Luke is under pressure, his theme becomes warped, constricted, and tense. and like a short snippet of the theme might suggest that a character isn't present, but they're being talked about or thought of, right?
Yeah.
So they do that all the time. Unlike many of like the modern scores, they're like really synth inspired and stuff like that. Star Wars exists in a musical world that like just straight up directly descends from like European orchestral traditions.
Yeah.
Which is something that has been acknowledged and imitated by the Star Wars composers that have done like the TV shows and stuff. So Michael Giacchino, who did Rogue One, John Powell for Solo, Ludwig Göransson for Mandalorian, etc. Over 42 years that separate the releases of the first Star Wars and the newest one, the directors, writers, special effects, and artists and cast members have changed, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. But John Williams has stayed the same. He has been there throughout every single one, and he is Star Wars as far as I'm concerned. The Star Wars soundtrack has never slumped. Even when the quality of storytelling fluctuated from film to film, the music is the best. Like, for example, Phantom Menace is widely known as like the worst Star Wars film of all time. And
Best
yet,
soundtrack.
it has the best song that Star Wars has ever had in it, Duel of Fates.
Obviously.
Which is actually, it's not a case of, that's just not an opinion. Like,
No,
it's
it
the
is.
most listened to, it's almost widely regarded as the best song he's ever made, even though it's in the worst film that Star Wars has ever done. Which is insane. John Williams' first IMDb credit as a composer dates back to 1958.
Nice.
He now has soundtracks to more than 110 movies, almost 30 of which were collaborations with Steven Spielberg. He's been given 5 Oscar wins and 51 nominations, trailing only to Walt Disney's 59. So the only person who has more Oscars or nominations in general is Walt Disney.
Aw.
So realistically, you take Disney out of the equation, Steven Spielberg has more Oscars than anyone else, which is insane.
Do his get added onto Disney's now?
I guess so. Well, no, because Walt Disney is not a company; it's a person.
Right. Also, it's like Walt
person.
Disney himself.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Right. But obviously, his most acclaimed contribution to the field of music is the complete catalog of Star Wars. Right.
Yeah.
When George Lucas originally cut the first Star Wars film, he cut it with music from like Beethoven and Bach and Tchaikovsky and like all of like the greats, right? And then he gave that cut to John Williams, who originally won the job thanks to recommendation from Steven Spielberg after Williams delivered the iconic horror score for Jaws. And when George Lucas handed it over to him and was like, what he said was he wants that but better. So he handed over like a score of literally like the greatest compositions that have ever been made, and was like, I want that but better. And I mean, I would say he did a pretty fucking good job of achieving it.
He pulled through.
Exactly. Right, so the top 5 most streamed songs on Spotify from Star Wars. Number 1, Duel of Fates. Number 2, Across the Stars, which is the love theme from Attack of the Clones. Number 3, the Imperial March, obviously, Darth Vader's theme. Then number 4 is Rey's theme. And number 5 is Battle of Heroes.
I just remembered that my uncle had Imperial March playing at his wedding as he walked down the aisle.
This is the greatest thing ever.
Just, yeah, massive Star Wars nerd, and he had that for himself.
That's awesome. Why not?
Yeah.
Right, so now I've, given some John Williams fanboying. I'm gonna list out my favourite songs from all of Star Wars.
Be prepared, it's gonna go on for a while.
Bear in mind, I listened to all like 500 songs.
Yeah.
So I've gone all out with this, but I've tried to hold back and only go for the best ones. So
here are 300.
no, they're all incredible. Right, so obviously Duel of Fates is the most intense and emotional fight music ever.
Yes.
The main theme from A New Hope, which every time I hear it, it gives me just an unrivaled sense of joy and excitement. Like, every time. Especially when I saw the new ones in the cinema, like, as soon as the theme came on, like, it gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Then there's obviously the Cantina theme, which literally created a genre called jizz. That is the actual genre. Then there's Imperial March, which is the most badass villain song ever. Qui-Gon's Noble End, which is has a massive brass intro that always gets stuck in my head. Across the Stars, the love theme. Battle of the Heroes, Rogue One, and also Hope, which are the only two by Michael Giacchino on this list. The rest are all by John Williams. Princess Leia's theme, TIE Fighters Attack, The Throne Room / End Title, Yoda's theme, The Force theme, The Battle of Hoth, The Empire Strike Back finale, Han Solo Returns, The Return of the Jedi, Parade of the Ewoks, Rey's theme, Kylo Ren arrives at the battle, March of the Resistance, Scherzo for X-Wings, The Jedi Steps, Torn Apart, Canto Bight. Canto Bight is essentially like the new sequels version of jizz music, you know, like the Cantina theme, but it's like the different one, and it's in the it's on Canto Bight, right?
Right.
The Battle of Crate, A New Home, and finally the finale to Rise of the Skywalker, which is like essentially John Williams' final song for the entire Skywalker saga, and it kind of put it all into like a big 15-minute epic.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are the best songs by far, and if you obviously we've got that playlist, so you can go check them out. Yeah, Star Wars, it's fucking incredible. It truly is. The compositions, the soundtrack, it's just it transcends everything.
John Williams has made a lot of iconic soundtracks.
Oh yeah.
Where he worked on Indiana Jones, Jaws. He did the first 3 Harry Potter films, so the iconic Harry Potter soundtrack was made by him.
Yep.
This is mad.
Yeah. He's done everything. He really is like one of the greatest composers of all time.
And his website is .org.
Yes.
That's incredible. His thing is literally johnwilliams.org.
Yeah. He's a fucking powerhouse. He's like 80 as well now, isn't he?
70.
70.
He's 70 years old.
He's not 70.
He's 89.
He's
Sorry,
89. So he's almost 90, and he's just finished the complete work of Star Wars. That's mad.
Good for him.
And they hold up. They've never got worse. They are all incredible. Hence why there was quite a lot on there from the sequels that I had to mention. All right, what you got for us then?
I should probably keep on with the theme, shouldn't I?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to talk about The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because outside of, in the outer Star Wars universe, the soundtrack holds up.
Oh, yeah.
So...
It's very different.
Yeah, it is very different, but that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So it's by Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah.
It has an umlaut on the O, so I don't know how to say it. But I'm going to say Ludwig Göransson. So he was already a music producer when he started getting into composing.
Yeah.
So most notably working with Childish Gambino, who also highly recommended him for their work together. So he's the reason that he got a lot of the jobs that he has got.
Yeah.
Because
I guess he had the connection to Star Wars through that because he played Lando in the Solo film.
Exactly.
The worst Star Wars film of all time.
But also from working on just working with musicians, he also was working on other TV shows. So he worked on Community, and which also has Childish Gambino, Donald Glover.
Yeah.
They may or may not be the same person.
No, they are.
So he also worked on Community, New Girl, and then he also worked on films like Black Panther and Creed 1 and 2, and he had been getting a lot of awards for these.
Well, yeah, for Black Panther especially, because it's known as having a ridiculous soundtrack.
He was nominated for 8 different awards just for the soundtrack alone. Mad.
And the connections to Marvel also explains why he then has connections to Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Who did The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as we said, it is very different to the Star Wars things. So Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and all of the other producers, they wanted to go away from the style that John Williams had created because they wanted an original sound, because this is its own original thing. This does exist on its own.
But it still has to be representative of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, but
which I think he did.
As they showed in the, I can't think of the word, behind the scenes, the kind of series that they created, which was based on the music. They had a Western style. That was the idea of The Mandalorian, was to have it a Wild West kind of
gunslinger type.
Yeah, gunslinger type style, and they kind of wanted to go along with that, and then also include more tech style music
Yeah.
Which is why they went with Goranson, because that's the kind of stuff that he did. So, as we also saw in the behind the scenes of the Mandalorian show, he used a lot of instruments that are quite rare, like not really used in a lot of things. He experimented a lot with all the different instruments that he could get a hold of, and he even though he had been composing on a couple things, I feel like he had a lot more things to work with, like a lot bigger of an orchestra and such things to work on Mandalorian.
Yeah. Well, no, he had less for the Mandalorian than he did with other things. Yeah, because they tried to kind of restrict the budget a lot because they had to make, like a massive Star Wars universe with as little as possible for a TV show.
It was still a really expensive TV show.
It was incredibly expensive, but in comparison to Black Panther, which is a massive Marvel movie, he was restricted a lot, but he made it work still.
Yeah. And then he also was working a lot with different synthesizers to get the different kind of sounds that he wanted, just to make it just to add that otherworldly feeling that the Mandalorian has. Yeah. And to keep with the whole to stray away from the very orchestral side of what John Williams had created for the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, because you can't compete.
No, you can't. But then obviously they wanted a more tech side of things, so he was just messing around with synthesizers, seeing what weird sounds he could get and how to include that. And I think it's really cool.
The horn kind of woodwind sound thing that is the main theme is just incredible. You hear it and you know exactly that it's the Mandalorian.
Speaking of which, I pinpointed the exact song in the whole soundtrack that one came from, and that's called "Get the Child."
Yeah.
So that's what that one's called.
Do you know what the instrument's called?
No, I didn't get that.
Okay. If anyone knows, please tell us.
Let us know, because it's a cool instrument. And also another song that I just really liked from the whole soundtrack was "Mando Is Back." That's just what it's called. It's the intro song for the soundtrack. Okay. It has that oomph of, oh my god, look at this guy. It really fits in well with the show because it gives that. It is a very Western style, Wild West style song.
Yeah.
But with impact.
Sure.
I don't have the words for these kind of things. It's a very specific feeling that these songs give that you can't quite put the words to.
Sure.
Well, I can't. You are a musician. You're supposed to have words for these. I don't.
If you say so.
I work in visual media.
Is that all you have for the Mandalorian?
That's all I have to say about the Mandalorian. Yeah. It's really great.
Yeah, it really is. All right, I'll take the next one then. This is another one that I imagine if you're a long-time listener of the As Yet Untitled podcast, you'll expect this from me. And that's Avatar.
Oh, yeah.
Both The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. Jeremy Zuckerman was in charge of composing pretty much all of the music for both of the series. And he just did an amazing job. All the music for the scenes and the character themes are original. And they really create the emotions needed in what is an incredibly emotional show, but it also has the comedic side of things as well, especially Momo's theme. And all of the music is very well fitted to the Eastern style of the world that it's in. And it's also incredible to listen to separate from the show. You don't need to just listen to it as kind of background music. You can listen to it just on its own and it's still just really good.
Yeah.
It has big drums and percussion sections, and then also peaceful Eastern string sections. There's
woodwind kind of things as well.
Yeah, Eastern horns and stuff like that. And it has you've got these really relaxed and chill vibes, but also these massive big battle themes, and it's just incredible what you can do with it. Also, Avatar is set in a pre-industrial world, right? Like The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
And the music reflects that. It's old-fashioned. There's no modern kind of sounds to it. It's all very old folk kind of styles.
Instruments that you could imagine would be handmade.
Yeah, and exactly. And it reflects that. Whereas in Korra, because it's set in an industrialized jazz era, he's kind of adapted it to that because it has jazz. So the way he explained it is, it's jazz, but if it was stylized in 1920s era China. because that's what the show is essentially. Yeah. So that's what he did. Unfortunately, there have been very few actual releases from Korra specifically, so the soundtrack's really hard to find. But there have been some that have released, and Jeremy Zuckerman himself is actually he's posted some onto his own SoundCloud and stuff. I'm hoping that in the near future there's like a full release of the soundtrack because it really deserves it.
So long though.
Yeah, I think there's been issues with trying to get the soundtrack released, or I don't know exactly what the problem was, but I'm hoping with the resurgence of how popular it is now again that they'll work it out.
We should start a petition.
I think there's probably already many, to be honest. Because when I was looking online, there were a lot of people complaining that they couldn't find it all. But I've managed to get a good few of them in the playlist that should be linked in the description. Yeah. Right, so here are my favourites from the show. The main Avatar theme, Agni Kai, Leaves from the Vine, Avatar's Love, Service and Sacrifice, the Legend of Korra main theme, the end of Avatar, so like the outro, Momo's theme, the Avatar State, Safe Return, Peace Excerpt, Azula's theme, which is just chaotic, Invading the Palace, The Final Blow, Sungi Horn, Sokka's theme, the Fire Nation theme, Korra Prologue, Airtight, Being Patient, Beifong's Sacrifice, On the Lamb, Good Old Days, Before, Fresh Air, Squeaky Rags, Amon, Chi Blockers, A Peaceful Place, Left My Heart in Republic City, Wheels, Republic City Under Attack, War, Greatest Change, Korra End Credits, Destroy the Colossus, Janora's Light, and finally, from the ones that I could find that have been released anyway, Mako's Sacrifice.
Right.
So there's a list of some of the ones from The Last Airbender and Korra, and they are the best ones. Again, all of those will be in most of those will be in the playlist, so you can check them out.
Yeah.
And yeah, some, as I said, some are like really jazz inspired, some are more like orchestral and big battle things, some more chill. Like Leaves from the Vine is just a really sad, relaxed song. It's awesome. And
it works really well. Like, there are a lot of songs in it that I have personally used for just like study music.
Yeah, because there's no vocals.
Yeah, and there are ones that you can just have, and it just makes you feel really refreshed.
Yeah.
And just kind of, they do have that kind of feeling that you are outside in this really like natural area. And you wouldn't
think it, but all of it was made just using MIDI and technology and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, he did basic, like none of it was like, or very few of it, especially for the first lot at least, was like actual recordings or orchestras. They were all done on computers because technology is advanced enough that we can, you can use software like Cubase or Logic or something to make full-on orchestral things without actually having an orchestra.
Yeah.
And because obviously at the beginning, the budget wasn't that massive because it was just a Nickelodeon show. Yeah, he basically did all of it on his own on a freaking computer and made it sound like there was these handcrafted instruments and orchestras and stuff. And yeah, it's fucking awesome.
With some of the, because people have done like lo-fi covers of it.
Yeah.
Those ones do sound more like they are played on actual instruments in a way, like.
But they aren't.
There's this one song, I can't remember which one, that sounds like it's played on a kalimba. Just like little, like, bonky sound.
Yeah.
It's all like...
Well, some of the lo-fi versions will have, obviously, they might have actual recording and stuff, but in general, even when you listen to it, you think you'll think it's done on the real instruments, but it's not, because they've just done it really well.
Like, it literally sounds like you can hear the wood in the instrument.
Yeah, and there's no way of really, it doesn't matter. I mean, it essentially is exactly the same.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of skill. All right, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I'll go for my other one that's also featured on many.
Comes up regularly, just like Avatar and Star Wars.
I bring this up a lot. It's because it's my favourite film, which if you if you listen to the our favourite films episode, it shows up there, and that's Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim's such a good film.
It is really good.
I love it so much.
It also showed up in the favourite comic characters as well.
Because he's great. Anyway.
The soundtrack.
The soundtrack alone has, like, a huge wiki page.
Yeah.
Just, like, you will have the music section of of the film, but then it also takes you to a separate soundtrack area where it goes into quite a lot of detail about all the different aspects of the soundtrack, and I love that. So the soundtrack is filled with like indie alternative rock, which is similar to the style that Brian Lee O'Malley was inspired by while writing the graphic novel.
Yeah.
So they actually got, because he was heavily involved in the film, they also got his kind of opinion on this aspect of it, on the music. Also to do with the fact that
it plays a big part in all of the story.
Yeah. But they wasn't just going to be like, oh, we're just going to put this type of music in. They actually featured some of the songs that he specifically says were inspirations to him, including...
And what he was thinking of during a fight scene.
Yeah, and what he was thinking of during fight scenes and all these type of things.
Because he wrote those in the end of the comics, didn't he?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like,
Sorry.
In the end of... Like, in the back of each book that he wrote, he has a little bit that just says, like... Scott's playlist for, like, say, like, book 5, and then it will have a list of the songs that he was specifically listening to or inspired by when writing this specific book.
Yeah, I find that really cool.
Yeah, like, it's just a nice little thing that he doesn't have to add, but he did it anyway. And also the type of music that it is reflective of the time and where it's set. So it's set in kind of, like, the 90s, kind of like it's really like stylized for like the 90s, and it's following a specific music scene that was in Canada at that time, like in Ontario, Canada, and for some reason, like all of the clubs that were in the area was just started focusing directly on their specific music genre, which is why they featured it so heavily in the film, because it actually was a big thing in Canada at that moment. So they just thought they'd get that involved, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's all really simple music, which is cool.
Yeah. So all of the songs that you see performed in the film are being played by the actors. So when you're seeing them,
hence why it sounds awful.
Yeah, it sounds awful, but
that's the point.
It's meant to. The whole actually, that's something I did write down here. Is they were all written with the intention of being underthought and demo-like.
Yeah.
So they didn't want anything to be like a super well thought out.
Because they're a bad garage band.
Yeah, they are a garage band. But yeah, so all of the actors needed to learn how to play their respective instruments before doing anything in the film. Like before they even started shooting, they all had to learn it.
Yeah.
And they were rehearsing together before the film.
Yeah.
The only person who didn't have to do this, well, he did have to rehearse, but he didn't have to learn the instrument beforehand, was Michael Cera, who already knew how to play bass.
Yeah, but it's only bass, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's not very good bass, to be fair. But it is interesting because they didn't actually... they didn't look for actors who could play instruments. That wasn't their intention when they were hiring people.
Yeah.
Their idea...
Because the cast... like the actual characters can't really play the instruments themselves anyway.
Yeah. But they just wanted to have the right people for it, and then was like, oh, and by the way, you're gonna have to go learn this instrument.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. So, as I said, all of the songs from Sex Bomb were written for the film, like so that they would fit with what they are. But also, some of the songs were written into the book.
Yeah.
Like into the graphic novels, so there will be sections in it where it would tell you like the chord progression and how to play it and the timing and the feel. Like he actually like put in a lot, and you can actually just go into the book and find how to play the songs.
That's so cool.
It's so unnecessary, but I love it. This is why I love Scott Pilgrim so much. It's these things. So I'm written by an artist called Beck.
Yeah.
So,
why, have you not heard of Beck before?
I have, but I'm just saying, just in case, it's not just me saying a name, like it's Beck.
I thought you were saying it like this strange, no one's ever heard of this artist before, this really strange, underknown artist, I think it's pronounced Beck.
Wow. Anyway, he had written 32 different songs for the film. And then the producers picked the ones that they wanted. And he wrote all of these 32 songs within 32 hours. Like, yes, they are bad songs.
Well, that's the thing.
But they are complete songs. I'll
Beck's a good musician, so he just literally was like, all right, I'll just sit down and just whack them all out. Like, these bad songs, just do it. And a lot of the songs are like 3 seconds long.
And they also, like, the actors, like the whole studio, I guess, recorded music videos for the songs.
Yeah.
Like, with the actors and everything. Like, they recorded actual music videos, and on the Blu-ray special features, you can watch these.
That's cool.
These music videos. The film also has music from The Legend of Zelda, which, when you think about that seems like a feat in itself. Nintendo giving rights to let a film use these kind of things.
Yeah.
But it was actually Edgar Wright himself who reached out to Nintendo and was like, look, this film is trying to speak to a generation of people who loved Legend of Zelda. It's essentially a lullaby to them, and that's why we want to use it for like a dream sequence that we've got in the film. So they gave him the permission.
That's cool. Edgar Wright gets shit done.
Hell yeah. And then there's also Crash and the Boys, a band within the film. Their songs are intentionally as short as they are. They are a proper, like, heavy grunge band, and all of them are just 3-second rage-filled noise. And it's great. Like, that is how they were written in the graphic novel, and it's exactly how they portrayed them in the film. So
yeah.
They got that through. So I just wanted to list off my favourite songs from the film.
Yep.
So there's Scott Pilgrim by Plum, which is also the the character and the graphic novel's namesake. Scott Pilgrim, obviously. Like, the song's called Scott Pilgrim, so he's called Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
And they also reference it back in the film about the fact that, like, Plumtree was a big impact on him because he wears the Plumtree shirt.
Yeah.
And then there's also Garbage Truck by Sex Bomb. Black Sheep by Metric, which in the film it's performed by Brie Larson, but
which is incredible.
Yeah, which is incredible. They wanted her to do it because she had really captured some of the essence of Envy Adams.
Yeah.
And they wanted to really push that through with her recording it. But in the actual soundtrack that you will listen to, if you get the CD on vinyl, even on Spotify, it is the original recording by Metric that is done for it.
Huh.
Because they only wanted her recording to be in the film. That's all they agreed to. There was you can re-record it and put it in the film. You
can probably find that though. You can probably find the Brie Larson version.
Yeah, like it'll be easy to find, like online, or even just going on YouTube, you'd find it. But it's just specifically they let her re-record it, but only to be released on the film officially.
Yeah, because lead singers have some serious pride issues.
There's also Teenage Dream by T-Rex, which I just think is a cool band name.
Yeah. Have you not heard of T-Rex before?
No.
Huh. They're another big band.
And Ramona, the acoustic version by Beck. Yeah.
That's the one that Scott sings, right? The lyric is just Ramona, that's it.
So he was actually... Beck was actually tasked with writing this song for the film. And the only lyrics in it is, like, Ramona, oh, how I love you, Ramona. That's all he was allowed to use as lyrics. So he did it, and it actually made, like, a fairly decent song out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is my Scott Pilgrim thing. Went on a bit, but it's because I love it so much.
All right, I'm taking over.
Right.
Next one. Might be one of the newest ones on my list. It's a cartoon made by DreamWorks, and that's Kippo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts.
Hell yeah.
If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But I'm not here to talk about the show, so I'm going to talk about the soundtrack.
If you want to listen to us talk about that show, it's also in our favourite TV shows episode.
Is it?
I believe it is.
Oh, I almost forgot about that. It's got 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, all 3 seasons have a 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, soundtrack. So originally, Kippo wasn't going to have much music, but then after encouragement from the DreamWorks executives, the show took on a whole new musical life. So, like, I mean, there's music the whole way through it. Like, there's some parts of it that are kind of musical elements, as in, like, the characters are singing it, but then there's others that it's just, soundtrack based.
Yeah.
And And it's truly the kind of music you wouldn't hear on any other show. Kippo doesn't limit itself to one genre, and all of the music is carefully woven into the story. With Kippo's love of music being one of the biggest points of connection between her and her father and the world around her. Seacrest, right? I think it's Ryan Seacrest, the person who made the show. He intentionally pushes the music in the series more than any other, more than anything else. Like the songs are often used only in the background in other things, but for this, it's straight up part of it. It's not.
I think his name's Radford
Seacrest.
Radford. I think it's not even Seacrest. It's Seacrest.
I think it's pronounced Seacrest, but
yeah,
could be wrong about that. Who knows? What was I talking
about? I had to check that out for you. But yes.
Yeah, so most shows put music in the background, but this show it just blare the song straightly at you as if it's part of the story, and they're deeply woven together, and it's awesome. So he says that he attributes his love of doing this to how Quentin Tarantino does the same thing in his films.
Oh yeah.
He says, so this is a quote from him: "If I'm putting a song top of a scene, and I am pushing it, and I feel like I might rub some people the wrong way, they might be like, they're noticing the song too much, or this song isn't fitting exactly beat for beat everything that's happening in my story. But in my mind, I'm like, this song is so cool, this is just going to make the scene cool." So, like, if the song is cool, it will make the scene cool. Yeah, I agree.
It works.
And the songs are fucking cool. Like, the soundtrack is awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
So the soundtrack features original songs as well, composed by Daniel Roja, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
It draws on an eclectic mix of musical styles, from folk to classical music to hip-hop and world music. It has Wu-Tang Clan founding member playing a wolf called Bad Billions, Jezza, in case you don't know. And he's also got co-writing credit for the Newton Wolves rap, which is one of the great songs in it. Yeah, it's just awesome. It has. I've listened to this playlist so many times, and I've been drumming along to songs, and I found a bunch of new artists that I'd never heard of before. Yeah, my favourite songs include songs made for the series by Daniel Roja, and also ones previously released. And the series, yeah, it helped me discover some of my most listened to artists of 2020, like Atomic Drum Assembly and Dope St. Jude, which you should definitely check out. But yeah, I've tried to narrow it down as best I can with my favourites. But there are quite a few.
But here are all the songs on the soundtrack.
they're all so different. It's hard to narrow it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so Daniel Roja made a bunch of originals in pretty much every style imaginable, and these are ones I love the most. Yum Yum Hammer Paw, also Yum Yum Hammer Meow.
Okay, wait, I have to quickly say.
Yeah.
Yum Yum Hammer Paw, the song, was performed by Leah Delaria, and that's Big Boo from Orange is the New Black.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the cast actually do singing and performing in some of these songs.
She actually performed it herself,
yeah.
Instead of just having someone else do it, and I just think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Well, all of the songs that Daniel Roja made, if they're not just instrumental and they have lyrics, the lyrics are the actual characters singing them.
Yeah.
Right. Where was I? Oh yeah, so there's also the other ones with Daniel Roja is Treetop Butterflies, Family Hunt, Mega Walrus Attack, A World of Wonderbeasts, Ferris Wheel, Scooter Skunks, Catch Me, It's Really You, Mulholland, Your Majesty Be, which is a dubstep song, The Brunch Bunch, A Second Chance, Goodbyes, A Safe Zone, Las Vistas, Death Stalker Territory, Humans in Capes, Family Towel, No Anchor, Don't Stop Now, which is the theme song, Scarlemane's Waltz, Jamak Theme, Timbercats, and Mega Bunny Attack. So they're all the Daniel Roja ones that I think are the best. Now for the songs that aren't by Daniel, and it's just like a bunch of other songs that they found. And these are songs that I'd never heard before, by mostly artists I'd never heard before, and they're fucking awesome. So there's The Age of Wonderlands by Vanessa Michaels and Keely Bumford. Yes You Know by Atomic Drum Assembly, also by the same group. There's We Out Here and Five Hand Clap and Feelin'. Then there's Sisters by the Hallucination. Psychic Data by TVAM. Down with the Humans by John Lavelle. XL by Bro Safari. Cinnamon by Sneaks. La Vague by Faces Cachis. That's a French one, so I probably pronounced that horribly. Give It To Me by Skinny Beats. No No by Lone Moon, or Na Na. Let's Go, but it's like L.E.T.S.G.O by and that's the Casio remix by Headband. Until the Sun Dies by Lush Life. Now You Know My Name by the D-Revolutions. Purple Jaguar by Sterling K. Brown. Yes, the actor. What We Have Is You, which is a really nice emotional one, and it's between Sterling K. Brown and Karen Fukuhara, which is Kippo and her dad. And then the final, Fight the War by Kitty Harlow. So all of those songs I've listened to basically on repeat. They're so good. And they just there are other songs by the artist that are really good too. You should definitely do a deep dive, and they're in the playlist. That's all I've got to say. Kippo is awesome, and the soundtrack is incredible.
I can agree with that. I have nothing else to add to that. I can completely agree.
And it doesn't matter what music you listen to either, because there's dubstep, there's pop, there's the more rocky stuff, there's acoustic bits, there's orchestral bits.
Even if you're not interested in, say, some of the more, dubstep kind of things, or even just, some of the heavier stuff that they have in this show, it fits so well with the show that you have to kind of love it.
Yeah, it really evokes the emotion and, everything that's happening, and it's fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, you can take over.
So, you mentioned Quentin Tarantino.
I did.
So, I'm going to talk about Django.
Oh, yes. The Django.
The Django. So the film is a take on the old West.
Which one are we talking about here? The new Django film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the original.
Django Unchained.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. And so it's a take on Old West and the antebellum South, which is when people own slaves in, I say in America, probably everywhere, but specifically this is focusing on in America. And the music is relative of, the themes that are within the film. So, they also pay homage to, the spaghetti western theme at times.
A lot.
They really feature that quite heavily in there, which is quite nice. But sometimes they also add, a modern twist to the music. They have added, some bits that are very, I guess, electronic sounding, just to add...
And more R&B, hip-hop kind of big things too, yeah.
So, it doesn't have a complete score for the film, because Quentin Tarantino doesn't like to have scores for his films. He would rather have, a mixture of, mixtapes and bits that are written for it. He doesn't want one individual person to have that much control over his films, so he will not hire someone to compose a score for a film.
Yeah, well, he's a big record collector, and he likes to pick and choose from his collection as to put things into his films and stuff like that, so that makes sense. He likes more of the personal control.
Yeah, it's his film, and he doesn't want someone else to have too much of a say over it, when technically he is also his own music producer when it comes to his films. The way his input is a big part of it. Actually, I have here, Tarantino himself was the executive music producer, so he kept control of where the music was and what music was used.
Yeah, I feel like he does everything. That for most, if not all of his films.
Yeah, he really gets in, he gets in deep with his... with his films, so it makes a lot of sense. There wasn't much I could really find out about, the soundtrack for it, because, it was just... out there, but it also so it had a lot of songs that were from other places. So it includes I'm gonna butcher this. I don't know how to actually say it. Is it Fur Elise?
Yeah, Fur Elise.
It is just Fur Elise, by Beethoven.
Yeah.
So that was featured in the film, but it's not featured on the soundtrack.
Okay.
Just because. I don't know, maybe rights. It's old enough that he wouldn't have rights.
Not be rights.
No, I think it was just it wasn't as important to the film, so they didn't include it on the soundtrack. But then other songs that just I think are really important in it. So they included Django, the song Django, which is the original film, the original film track.
Yeah.
That was released in 1966 by Louis Bacalov.
Yeah, it's a good song.
It is really good, and I like how they kept a lot of the same kind of essence from that, and like it really fit in well with the new one. And then they also have a song that was made for the film called Unchained, which is a remix of The Payback and Untouchable. So it's a remix of a James Brown song and a Tupac song.
Yeah, and it's fucking awesome.
It was really good. And I was like, wait, but this film came out obviously not that long ago, so like, who did it? But it was actually by Tupac's sound engineer. He's the one who made it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, his name's Claudio Cooney. And yeah, he made the song for it. And I think it's really, like, it is a really sick soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a really good song.
Because it also features, like, little audio clips from the film in the song as well.
And it makes perfect sense to have two incredibly strong idols in the black community doing something that's, like, for the film, it just works perfect. Because James Brown and Tupac is, like, two generations of these, like, big musical black, like, icons.
Yeah.
Like, it works really well.
And also, when looking through the soundtrack, they do have parts of it that are just little snippets through the film, which are just like iconic bits of dialogue, I guess, that you could say they are literally.
Which happens a lot in hip hop.
Yeah, so it is just a little audio clip, just in the middle of the playlist, just because.
Yeah, it's called a sample.
No, like not. But it's not in a song.
Oh, you're talking about in the soundtrack overall?
It's actually in the soundtrack. It's just an audio clip. So there'll be like a 20-second audio clip that is its own track.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that breaks up from the music too much for me, but...
Well, as I was listening through it, it actually does blend in quite well with the rest of the soundtrack, listening through it.
Okay.
God, thinking I don't know what a sample is.
Well, I don't know. You know, sometimes I'm surprised.
God.
Is that all you got to say about Django?
That's all I have to say.
Alright, I'll take the next one. Okay. I love this film. And it's another Edgar Wright film.
Hell yeah.
So
Edgar Wright's sick.
Yeah, he's got really good taste in music for his soundtracks. Alright, this one is Baby Driver.
Hell yes.
I think possibly my favourite car driving based film that there is.
Best heist film.
Yeah. The film takes its name from the song Baby Driver, which is a song by Simon and Garfunkel from the album Bridge Over Troubled Water, and it's also played during the end credits of the film too. Also, Edgar Wright consulted with James Gunn because he was making Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at the same time, and they wanted to consult together to make sure that none of the songs... What am I saying here? I'm trying to...
No overlap.
Yeah, there was no overlap, so that both soundtracks had completely different songs on it. So they consulted together to make sure that when the films were released and the soundtracks were released, they didn't have any of the same songs. Which I think is kind of cool.
It's considerate.
Yeah. And it works, it helps both of them out. The soundtrack features 3 original tracks, which is a cover of Easy by Sky Ferreira, which is really good. Chase Me by Danger Mouse featuring Run the Jewels and Big Boy, which again is incredible. And Was He Slow by Kid Koala, and that's the song that Baby makes in the film. And it's a really good song as well. The soundtrack won the Empire Award for Best Soundtrack at the 23rd Empire Awards as well.
Nice.
What I love most about this film's soundtrack is how effortlessly it flows and connects the scenes together. Like, every single bit of music fits perfectly in the scene, and all of the timing and the emotion and everything is done just so precisely, because all of the songs that are playing in the film are playing in the main character's headphones.
Yeah.
Like, he mimes certain sections, like certain drum things, where he's like tapping in time. He even like sings along and does the vocals to parts and stuff like that. And it really just drags you into seeing everything and feeling everything from his perspective, because you're hearing everything that he is. So you're feeling the same emotions from the music as he's doing the things that he's doing. I also love that almost every track is a lesser-known song or a lesser-known artist. So it really helped me discover a bunch of artists I'd never heard of before, and I probably wouldn't have found otherwise. And yeah, I love that almost every scene feels like a music video.
Yeah.
And like a good music video. Like, it's so well thought out. Right, my favourite tracks... There's quite a few here. Again, they are all incredible. But in particular, Bell Bottoms by the John Spencer Blues Explosion, Harlem Shuffle by Bob and Earl, Smokey Joe's Lala by Googie Rene, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Baby by Carla Thomas. Kashmir by the Kashmir Stage Band. Unsquare Dance by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. Neat 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 by the Damned. Easy by the Commodores. Deborah by Beck. Never mentioned of Beck. Bongolia by the Incredible Bongo Rock Band. Early in the Morning by the Alexis Corners Blues Incorporated. The Edge by David McCallum. Nowhere to Run by Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. When Something Is Wrong with My Baby by Sam and Dave. Radar Love by Golden Earring. Never Never Gonna Give You Up by Barry White. Yes, I'm being serious. I can't have this list without having Barry White on there. Know How by Young MC. Easy by Sky Ferreira. That's the cover. Baby Driver by Simon and Garfunkel. Was He Slow by Kid Koala. Chase Me by Danger Mouse. Yeah, so the 3 covers that were made specifically for the song, and then a bunch that were made in there. And they're all different genres as well. Yeah. There's like jazz, hip-hop, funk, rock, like the Neat 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 by the Damned. That's a punk song.
Yeah.
And then straight after it, you got a freaking like jazz song. And it just... But they all work so well.
Definitely.
And there's so many like break beats and stuff like that are just really cool. Like and everything's really upbeat, and it's perfect. The music and the film are so tied together.
Yeah.
I love it. You got anything to add on that? Because I know you like Baby Driver as well.
I don't think I have anything to add. It is just like a really good film. Like, yeah. Just specifically, like when I first watched it, I remember noticing the moment when I was like, oh, music's gonna be a big deal in this.
Almost instantly.
And that's in like obviously like, in the first scene, well, not the first scene, I think it's like the second scene technically. He's out getting coffee, and he's listening to music, and as he's walking to their like office hideout space, all of the lyrics start showing up on the walls next to him and on like in like street art and stuff. You just see it everywhere, and all of the lyrics to the songs, and I was like, oh my god,
it's so well thought out. It's like an incredibly well thought out music video the entire way through the film.
Yeah, like every scene could be a music video to the song. Yeah, and that's great. But that's also like, it was originally Edgar Wright's idea. Like, he used it in a music video before. Yeah, like the entire concept of this film was used in a music video directed by Edgar Wright. Yep. I just think it's pretty cool as well.
And then he made essentially a film that is essentially just an album music video. It's so good. Yeah. What you got for us next?
I'm going to take it a slightly different route, and I'm going to bring up one of my TV shows.
Yeah,
that I have on home, because I don't have many. I'm going to talk about Scrubs.
Good show.
It's such a good show.
I introduced you to Scrubs, and I'm so glad that you now like it more than Friends. Because Friends sucks and Scrubs is incredible.
You assumed this. I don't have a favourite because they're all too different, okay?
Scrubs is superior to Friends.
God. So already, the intro to Scrubs, like, it's very important in a TV show to have a good beginning song. Yeah. And Superman by Laszlo Bain, like the main theme. It's so good.
It is really good.
Like, it's good as a standalone song, but also it's just...
I don't think I ever skipped the intro of it when I was watching it.
No, because it's...
It's short, but it's good.
Yeah, it gets to the point. Yeah. So music is really important to the show. I think it's pretty much every episode would feature a song that would sum up the main themes of the episode in the last like minute, 30 seconds. Yeah. Like,
there's a lot of musical elements in it. Like, there's an a cappella group in it. Yeah. There's a lot of musical elements in the show.
So they would, and also sometimes they would even get the music before writing the episode. So it would have the song and then think, okay, how can we feature this in an episode? Yeah. Which I just think it's so unnecessary, but they worked with it and it did the job for them.
Yeah. They also did a whole musical episode, didn't they?
Yes, I was going to mention that. Like, they do have a musical episode, and that musical episode alone was nominated for 5 Emmys, and it won 1 Emmy.
What? Mad.
That episode alone.
That's sick.
So yeah, as I said, like, they get the music before writing the episode, so the cast and crew would often get recommendations from other so like the people who were making it would get recommendations from the other members of cast and crew. So quite often Zach Braff would get involved. That's because he had a couple, like, there was one film, I didn't write it down, I forgot to write it down. He had like a connection to an artist, so he would get them involved.
Yeah.
Like, so he had a couple songs from them involved, but mostly it was Kristen Miller, who plays Jordan, so Dr. Cox's wife.
Yeah.
She was actually one of the most influential people when it comes to getting the music for the films, well, for the episodes, because she just had so many good ideas.
Yeah.
So most of the songs that were involved, she suggested. And it even got to the point where they was going to her before going to Bill Lawrence, the show's creator, to get an idea of what to do.
Wow.
So they was actually going to her more often than they were going to Bill Lawrence to get music
ideas,
recommendations. Yeah,
that's cool.
I just think that's so cool. Like, that she had that big of an impact on the film, on the show.
So I want to get a film.
Sorry, was to win.
It's such a long TV series.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's a really cool thing. So I've got a little list of some of the songs that are featured just because,
Yeah,
just,
there's a lot.
Yeah. These are just ones that are, like, to me, standout ones. So obviously it has How to Save a Life by The Fray.
Yeah.
Of course, like, it had to.
It's about a hospital, of course.
Yeah. Don't Stop Believin' by Journey.
That comes up a lot.
Africa by Toto.
Mm-hmm.
Faith by George Michael. And then Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah, there's loads. I mean, Turk's Dance is now a freaking signature dance in, like, Fortnite and stuff. Because it's, like, the music played such a part in the show.
Yeah. But
it's great.
I just think it was a really good show. And the way that they incorporated the music into it, especially considering how wild JD's mind is.
Yeah.
I just think, Scrubs is just a really cool show, so...
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's a good soundtrack. Yeah. Alright, I'll take back. We're going back to films here.
Right.
And actually, directly related to what I said before. You know, I said that he spoke to James Gunn for the Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, this is Guardians of the Galaxy. Volume 1 and Volume 2. So, the soundtrack to Guardians reached number 1 on the US Billboard 200 chart, which means it's the first soundtrack album in history consisting entirely of previously released songs to top the chart.
Nice.
So the only soundtrack in history to get number 1 in the chart that isn't original music.
Yeah.
It's all just previously released stuff, which is mad. So I don't really have a lot to say about it. You know about the film and the soundtrack. It's more background music than it is tightly weaved in. But there are some bits that are more tightly weaved in because obviously it is Peter Quill listening to a lot of them as well. Anyway, so what were you doing that face for?
I'm just thinking about, like, there are standout scenes that obviously really incorporate
there's the opening of it, which is where he's dancing and singing.
Isn't it to Come and Get Your Love?
Possibly. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
it's been a while since I watched it.
Most of these songs you've heard before because that's the point in the film. They're incredibly popular songs, but they're good. It's essentially just a really good compilation album. But yeah, here are my favorite tracks from both Part 1 and Part 2. So there's Blue Sky by the Electric Light Orchestra, The Chain by Fleetwood Mac, Bring It On Home to Me by Sam Cooke, Don't Stop Me Now and Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass, My Sweet Lord by George Harrison, Flashlight by Parliament, I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Suede, Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum, Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye, Cherry Bomb by the Runaways, Come and Get Your Love by Redbone, The Pina Colada Song by Rupert Holmes, Ooh Child by the Five Stair Steps, The Boys Are Back in Time? The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy, Shake Your Groove Thing by Peaches and Herb, Joy to the World by Three Dog Night, I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, and Funk Funk by Cameo, just to name a few. There's obviously a lot more. And on top of all of the previously released tracks, it also has a really good orchestral original score that goes along to it, made by Tyler Bates. Now, if it was on its own, it probably wouldn't have made this list, but the orchestral score mixed in with all of those absolute bangers just works really well.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I think the thing that, like, really hooked a lot of people on Guardians of the Galaxy is how different having those kind of soundtracks made the films feel.
Yeah.
Like, it added such a different essence to the entire film.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like a Marvel film.
The same thing that happened with Ragnarok as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it, just added a more realistic and comedic and light-hearted element to these other elements that are already going on.
Yeah. That's why I really enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy when I first watched it. Like,
yeah,
it is really good.
Yeah, the first one's incredible. Second one's a bit meh.
Yeah. But that's fine.
What's your next soundtrack?
So I'm going back to the only other TV series I have on here, but technically this is 2 TV series. But I'm putting them as one because they're by the same person, and they approach the soundtrack in the same way.
Okay.
So that is Weeds and Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
So they're both by Genji Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't actually see if the music producer was by the same person, because a lot of when you look at the music, it's like they look at all the different artists who are involved, or just look at the theme songs. I'm like, no, that's not.
It also, because it's episodic, it might be a case of there might be different ones for different episodes and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So how they approach music in this is they have their main theme.
Yeah.
Which becomes just like iconic in its own because of it really suits the show.
Well, I've already just you saying that, I've got the theme song from Weed stuck in my head.
Little Boxes.
Yeah.
So they have their opening theme song, but then at the end credits they would have a song to kind of like that really captures basically the last 10 seconds of the episode. Like something really like, I don't know, shocking could happen right at the end of an episode, and then the credits will blend that in with a really like satirical song.
Like, say if there's a fire, it would have like Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, like those sort of things.
So like, it's really hard to describe without having, because of the amount of episodes that there are and how many different songs there are, and they don't even pick like one style of song.
Yeah, it's
like,
all over the place.
Yeah, like it is just, as long as they can find a way to make it funny, they'll put it in because they can.
Or just fitting. It's just like cleverly fitting.
Yeah, and that's why it really adds to like the satiristic dark comedy style, which both Weed and Orange is the New Black has.
Yeah.
But not only that, they also like, they know when to not have music, which I think is a really important thing. Like, if you are left at the end of an episode and something hits you, like something's really like sad and dark, they will just leave you sitting in silence.
Yeah, to sit with it.
And you're like, oh no, I can't laugh at this. I can't think of a humorous side to this. You are just left in the awkward silence. And I think that's really good. Like, they do it so well. There are, like as I said, there are two.
Are you saying the lack of some soundtrack is a good part of this soundtrack?
Because the amount of songs that they have involved, like both of the series are like what, eight series long? Eight series long. So they both have like a lot of episodes. So to know when to use something and when not to use it is really good for like on the music department's part. To just be like, nah, let's make him just sit in silence for a bit. It's just hard. So I thought I'd just mention, so most people have seen Orange is the New Black. I feel like not as many people have seen Weeds.
Just a little bit older.
Yeah, it's a little bit older. It just didn't have the hype, whereas like Orange is the New Black being like one of the first binging shows on Netflix.
Yeah, it's because it was it's when Netflix was incredibly popular and everyone had it, and whereas Weeds was before that.
Yeah, so the intro for Orange is the New Black is You've Got Time by Regina Spektor, and it doesn't change throughout the thing. Whereas in Weeds, you have Little Boxes by Malvina Reynolds. But then after the first season, they start using different versions of the song.
The same song, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still the same song, but they will have different versions by different artists that will kind of set the tone for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, like they'll have it in Spanish when she's like, if she's going on a trip to Mexico.
Yeah.
And things like this. Like, it's those little bits that just make you go, oh, That's clever.
Because it's one song, but they do it in so many different ways to make it fit what's happening in the episode. It is really cool.
Yeah. I've honestly, like, Weeds was a really good show.
Yeah.
So, let's shout out. Definitely go watch Weeds if you're looking for a new show to watch, because it's really good.
Yeah. Do you have any songs in particular you want to mention for them?
No, I there were so many, and like so many of them are so important to the episode that it's hard to think of how good they are without the episode context.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So, no particular songs, but just definitely show recommendation.
Okay, so this one's more of a don't necessarily listen to the soundtrack on its own, but in relation to the show, the soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'll take the next one. So, this one is definitely the opposite of that. It's more of the soundtrack is, just insane on its own. This is Dazed and Confused. The soundtrack is a mix of amazing rock classics, yet has no appearance of Led Zeppelin's song Dazed and Confused. So Richard Linklater, who's the director, basically highlighted all of the 70s era's biggest rock songs, such as Alice Cooper's School's Out, The Runaways' Cherry Bomb, Ted Nugent's stuff, and Rick Derringer, Foghat, and stuff like that. Like, all of the most popular things that there were in the 70s, they bring into this, because it's essentially a period piece in the 70s in school, right? So they made sure to do it so that only the songs that were popular at that time were definitely in the thing.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan's song Hurricane, which plays on the soundtrack, cost $80,000 to license for the opening credits sequence, in which the audience meets all of the characters to the tune of Aerosmith's "Sweet Emotion." Usage of the Toys in the Attic banger came with a $23,000 price tag, more than the entire budget of Richard Linklater's previous film. The film did terribly in theaters, but obviously we now know has become a massive cult classic. Not only is Dazed and Confused now regarded as the teenage rock and roll film, but it's also the soundtrack was certified double platinum and became a fixture whenever stoners gathered around car stereos during the height of grunge. So, yeah, it lost loads of money originally because he was just like, I'm gonna make it so that I can put every incredible song I can in this, no matter if I think it's going to go good or what. So he spent loads of money on the soundtrack, and people were like, you shouldn't do that. So it lost loads of money originally, but now has definitely made that back, because it's essentially a dad rock anthem album. And it's
just look, like, with the amount of money that you already said was spent on it. There was over $100,000 on 2 songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But also, why did one song cost $80,000? This is also blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's mad. Alright, so although every song in the film is incredible, here are my favourites. We have Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith, School's Out by Alice Cooper, Why Can't We Be Friends by War, Lowrider by War, Hurricane by Bob Dylan, I Just Want to Make Love to You by Foghat, Love Hurts by Nazareth, Paranoid by Black Sabbath, Tush by ZZ Top, Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss, Right Place, Wrong Time by Dr. John, Cherry Bomb by The Runaways, which comes up a few times in my lists, Tuesday's Gone by Lynyrd Skynyrd, and finally Slow Ride by Foghat. So nice. If you haven't heard any of those songs, I don't recognise them, if you listen to them, I guarantee you've heard it before. Like, they are all, like, classic rock anthems.
Definitely.
And they're awesome. Alright, do you wanna take over? What you got next?
I'm gonna go to an animated film.
Okay.
This is a film that I never really thought of its soundtrack until later on, when I was just listening to, like, I don't know, I think it was like a playlist of a bunch of soundtracks, and this came up and I was like, oh my god, this song's a banger. What is it from? Found out it was from this film. So, I'm talking about Treasure Planet.
Amazing film.
It's an incredible film. So, it's a Disney film. Highly underappreciated is the only way I can describe this film. Not enough people gave it the appreciation it deserved.
Yeah.
So, this is Disney's third adaptation of Treasure Island.
Yeah, they did the Muppets Treasure Island.
They did the Muppets Treasure Island, and then they also did just Treasure Island, a film that was out, I think it was 1955. So
and then they did Treasure Planet, which is the
so then they did
sci-fi
Treasure
version.
Planet, the
animated one.
Yeah, so the sci-fi twist, giving a bit more of like space exploration and otherworldly.
What can you not love about space pirates?
Exactly. They hit it right exactly when they came up with the concept of this. Like, a pirate thing, okay, but what if they were space pirates?
Yeah. I mean, just the technology that they came up with for it and stuff, it was really cool.
It has, like, a steampunk-esque kind of vibe to it, like, in the film. Because not everything is, like, incredibly high-tech. Like, their ship that they use isn't a spaceship, it's still a ship.
Yeah.
It just works in space. Like, how could you not want that? But anyway, that's about the film. Talking about the soundtrack, they really do capture the pirate-esque vibe, but with the futuristic element to it.
Yeah.
Like, they really do manage to capture that, but also with the classic, what I would call, like, the classic Disney sound.
Yeah.
That it has, like, it does have that. I'm watching one of the classic Disney films. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
When you listen
is it all original compositions, or is there other songs in there too?
It's all, yeah, all of it is, or everything that's in it is written either for the film or, like, it was composed.
Yeah.
For the film.
Okay.
So the score is described as classical style, but which is in the spirit of Celtic music, and also Star Wars was one of the, like, big influences.
The big sci-fi thing.
Big sci-fi exploration kind
Orchestral.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they described the sound aspect of the film to be 70% traditional sounds and then 30% sci-fi, which is also how it approaches the entire story.
Yeah.
Which is, most of it's fairly normal.
Yeah.
But 30% of it's in space.
Yeah, it's a traditional story. It just happens to be happening in space in the future when there's aliens and stuff. Yeah. And it's all just normal.
So, like, they kept with that within, like, the sounds that they made for the film. So not even just the music. It's also in how they approached making the sounds for the film. And they also keep with the original kind of, like, feeling that it is a pirate film.
Yeah.
So the original composer is James Newton Howard. So he did all of the songs for it. Other than what I consider, like, the best film, the song that made me be like, oh my god, this film is incredible because of this song. Which is I'm Still Here, which is also known as Jim's Theme by John Rzeznik. And he's the frontman for the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was also really big around that time, and then he just got in on writing and making this song for the film.
Yeah.
And it's a banger.
No, yeah, it really is.
It's such a good song. It really fits with the film. So definitely, like, just that song alone, listen to it. Like, I want to listen to that song with, like, wind blowing in my head.
Yeah.
This is all I want.
Any other songs on that one?
None that really stand out like that one, because the rest of them are just, like, background kind of music to really,
it's just really good.
Yeah, to really emphasize what's happening in it. Whereas the I'm Still Here actually is like it's the song first, film later kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
okay,
yeah,
how many more have
good.
you got left?
I've got a few. Do we need to take a break?
Yes. I've got about 4 left, and I have some extra honourable mentions. I imagine you've probably got around the same.
Pretty much.
Okay. We're going to have to take a very short break because
we ordered food and it's about to arrive.
Yes. we didn't do this quite as quick as I was expecting. But don't worry. For you, it will just be a short silence, and then we'll be back in your ears. So now is your time to go take a pee.
Have fun.
And we are back. And we are lethargic and overly full from our Indian. So, what's your next soundtrack then, Tony?
My next soundtrack. Well, where to go? I'm gonna go back to another film that I definitely feel like I've spoken about before. Either that or I was going to talk about it and it ended up not on a list.
I mean, it's almost definitely been on one of our lists before.
Yeah. So that's Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. Because Because it actually has a really sick soundtrack.
Yeah, I didn't realise this until you started showing me some of the songs, and I was like, oh, damn. Like, it's a surprising... I mean, it's a classic film. It's got some... It had a lot of money. It's gonna have got some good songs in it.
So...
And the era as well.
That's the thing about the film. It follows a young man throughout his entire... Well, not his entire life, but from, I want to say about, like...
Adolescence.
10 years old, right up until literally just where the film leaves it at whatever age he is. He has a child and whatever. So, and that was actually the idea of it. So, music producer Joel Sill said that when they were creating a soundtrack, they wanted to use songs that were recognisable and symbolic of the time period, but didn't interfere with the film itself. So they didn't want the soundtrack to overpower the film. Okay. They really wanted to blend it in with everything that was happening. Yeah. And obviously, I'm assuming you can tell from the way I'm talking about it, the film, like, the soundtrack is compiled of songs that already exist. Yeah. And it goes from the 50s all the way through to, I want to say, like, the early 80s. Yeah. I would say there's around about...
all of the greatest eras of music, for the most part.
And they have a lot of iconic songs from around that time highlighted through the film.
Around that time. Around all of those times.
I said throughout that time, not around that time.
But from the 50s to 80s, it's essentially all music.
Yes, it is. But the way that they use it is ones that, like, are also influential to things that are happening in his life. Yeah. So, like, for example, in the beginning, he meets Elvis Presley. Like, Elvis Presley is someone who comes to visit his mum's, like, home. Like, I guess, like, an inn that she runs.
I don't remember.
She runs, like, an inn in this really big house. And Elvis is one of the people who comes and stays at the house. And basically, Forrest technically teaches him how to dance in his weird little, like, hip-swinging ways because he can't dance properly because he's got the braces on his legs. So then, next thing you know, they're playing Hound Dog by Elvis Presley. And that's a part of the soundtrack because, because you literally just met Elvis in the film. Yeah. So it's things like that, and...
Well, that's the only example of that, isn't it? It's the only example of, like, the actual artist being...
Yeah, that's the only example of the artist being in the film, but, like, it's things like that where it's really... entwined.
Yeah, it's like what's happening on the screen is what is the music that it's, you know...
Yeah, like...
For.
There's a lot of songs that, like... were written as a result of the Vietnam War, so you listen to him while he's...
Yeah, hence why there's like a lot of Bob Dylan in there, right?
Yeah, and things like that. I think it's really cool, the way that they do that. Yeah. Because it is, as they wanted it to be, they didn't want the music to overpower the film. All of the music is really part of the story, which I think is really nice. Like, it's not something... a lot of films can pull off really well. And Forrest Gump's already a sick film. Yeah. So, the soundtrack to the film, excluding the pieces composed for it, is 32 tracks long.
Well, it's a long film.
Yeah, it is a long film. Yeah, so there's already 32 tracks without the ones that were composed for the film that feature with it.
So there was actually ones composed for the film as well?
Yeah, there were, like, a couple of them, but there's not many. Like, there's definitely nothing compared to the amount of films that are included. Like,
what?
Not included.
Songs?
I mean, the amount of, like, already made songs. Yeah. That's what I meant, yeah. And when it was released, it was actually a 2-disc album, so it couldn't even fit on one disc. Yeah. They had to release it as a 2-disc album. But yeah, I just, like I've already said, like, it follows the trends, like, so the songs are put in exactly when they would have been in his life.
Well, it's a really great way of, I mean, because everyone knows what, for the most part, what music was around in what era, so it's a great way of really cementing, oh, he's now in this era, it's at this time in his life, and
it gives you an anchoring point without any of the other cues.
Yeah, because there's the whole hippie movement in it as well, and they've got all of it.
Yeah, so it is really nice to see how they do that. And especially since in the film, like, obviously when everything's set is really important. Yeah. So you see a lot of things, like, you could watch it without any of, like, the background or the music, and it could just be any old film. But with the stuff that they have going on in the background of the film, like where you see him go into the year 2000, I think. I don't know. Like, when they're celebrating the new year.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't matter, but then they also point out it was an important year when it turned that year, and then, like, having the Vietnam War, they don't have to have it, but they show it as a part of giving you an anchoring point for his life.
Well, they do have to have it because that's how he meets Lieutenant Dan, and that's how he meets the Bubba Gump shrimp guy, and that's almost one of the most important things in the film.
But I'm just saying, like, the music does really emphasize what's going on with it, and I just really like it.
So what are your favourite songs from it?
So, I pointed out Hound Dog by Elvis Presley because it's really early on in the film, so it really like cements that For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield, which is this is one of the songs that I think about when I think of Forrest Gump, because it's the scene where they're walking through Vietnam. So it's like showing you all of like different terrain that they're going through, the Vietnam that they're walking, and it really sets the tone for how it felt as a soldier. Yeah. This time. So I really like that for some reason. Respect by Aretha Franklin.
Great song.
Everybody's Talking by Harry Nilsson, and Go Your Own Way, Fleetwood Mac.
Another brilliant song.
Exactly. Like, there are a lot of bangers to this film, so that's why as I said, it probably is one of my favourite films because of the soundtrack. Okay. Because it's so good. Yeah. Like, it just really works so well with the film. Yeah.
Is that what you've got to say about that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to throw us back to Quentin Tarantino.
Nice.
This is the Kill Bill films. Kill Bill 1 and Kill Bill 2. So Quentin Tarantino is obviously a self-proclaimed vinyl nerd. His Kill Bill films' dual soundtracks swing wildly from like the guy that you mentioned earlier, Louis Bacalov.
Yeah.
His old Western string things and stuff like that. It swings from that to like the harmonica, like songs with harmonica in them, to Isaac Hayes' Run Fay Run, pan flute, funk rock of Japanese guitarist Tamiyasu Hote. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's got dialogue and different bits of music from RZA, from Wu-Tang. Second Wu-Tang member to show up on my list. And it goes all over the place, and it's really clever in the same way that most of Quentin Tarantino's films are with the music.
Yeah.
The best songs, in my opinion, are Bang Bang by Nancy Sinatra, and it's one of the main things I think of when I think of these films. The Grand Duel by Louis Bacalov, with like the way that it builds this like awesome Western tension, like, you know, like it's a standoff sort of thing. Twisted Nerve by Bernard Herrmann. That's the whistling one, you know, the Kill Bill whistle that everyone knows. Run Fay Run by Isaac Hayes. Battle with Honor or Humanity by Hote. That's the battle music that is now like, it's an epic classic. It's like synonymous with action scenes. It's been used loads. Woohoo by the 5-6-7-8s. The Flower of Carnage by Maiko Kaji. I think that's how it's pronounced. The Lonely Shepherd by Zamfir. Goodnight Moon by Chivalry. Satisfied Mind by Johnny Cash. You know, if there's a Johnny Cash song, it's going to go in the list. And the outro to Volume 2 is incredible as well. It has like this chilled jazz kind of vibe for the first half, and then it goes into a hip-hop song afterwards called Black Mamba, and it goes hard. It's really good. That's like on the outro of the final film. It starts, so if you're watching the credits, it has like the real chilled, jazzy kind of thing, and you stay for long enough, and then it just goes into this like hard-hitting hip-hop. And yeah, it's really good. So yeah, it's good old Tarantino.
Nice. So I'm gonna take it quite away from this.
Okay.
Because I've got a couple of animated films here actually. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna start getting through those, starting with The Incredibles.
Absolutely incredible soundtrack. I love the Incredibles soundtrack.
So you mentioned before Michael Giacchino.
Giacchino. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Yeah.
Him.
He's a boss.
So he did the score for The
Yeah.
Incredibles because why not? And he did a really good job of it. So what they wanted for this film was to have songs that were reminiscent of like the 60s, but like a future viewed from the 60s is how they kind of wanted to get it. So they wanted to have a bit more of like a modern feel, but still have a 60s vibe. It was really weird, like trying to... It's difficult to explain.
It's like the nuclear family kind of 60s America, but...
Yeah.
Try to modernize it when it comes to tech.
Kind of like what people in, I want to say, like the 20s, 30s would have said the 60s looked like. You know, like with more high-tech things than it actually did have. That's what they was trying to capture.
Okay.
But anyway. So Giacchino actually decided to record all of his, like... songs using the same techniques or similar techniques as to what they would have been recorded in the 60s because he wanted to have that authentic sound.
Okay.
So
and they're all like big band jazz stuff, right?
Yeah.
So did he have a full band?
Yeah. And
Okay.
because of that, that's why the brass in his songs comes out so much stronger because the way that they were recorded, it really like captured it better than anything else would have been able to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why he wanted to do it, like him and his sound engineer. One thing I did want to mention is about how, like, throughout the film, like if you was to listen to the whole soundtrack together, you will notice points in just like a random song where they will keep the main like motif,
Yeah.
like their little da 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 da.
Yeah.
But like it will just show up in the middle of a song, and you know, like that's the moment you see Mr. Incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of character motifs and stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think they do it in such a clever way.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't notice it in a lot of other things, but this one, like you do notice it. You're like,
And they all have those
little...
like 60s James Bond spy kind of.
Yeah, there's so much of
them.
like a real like like a really spy-esque feeling, and I really like that because it just really makes sense with the kind of work that they're doing, because even though they are superheroes, because like through lack of a better word, they are superheroes, but it does have a lot of the spy elements, like when he's sneaking around to try and figure out what this industry is trying to do with this weird like weapon and all this kind of stuff. Like it works really well,
and it stands out from a lot of other films.
Yeah.
Because it's just these really big, brash, in-your-face jazz band.
Yeah. And they sound good as standalone songs.
Oh,
like,
yeah, they sound awesome.
Without the film, they still sound good. But when you watch it with the film, you're like, oh my god, this soundtrack's incredible. Like, I don't know anyone who can watch Incredibles and not be like, oh, the soundtrack, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. Thought I'd like mention just a couple of like the songs that really stood out to me as I was listening through them. Mm-hmm. The in credits. They actually called it the in credits, which is just like the main theme, but like the extended one for the credits. Lava in the Afternoon, which is when he's like sneaking through all of like the little sneaking, like, what is it, like, organization, like, the building. He's sneaking through the building to try and find out some stuff. So it has more of, like, that spy, low-end, like, sneaking around kind of sound to it. And then there's Life's Incredible again, which is just after he starts getting his job, like, his superhero job back. And he's going around the house and he looks all, like, he's all upbeat and he's happy about his life. And, like, they had a song that really, like, reflects it.
Yeah.
I really like that song because it just feels nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's The Incredibles. I love The Incredibles.
Yeah, no, it is really good. And the second one was still had a good soundtrack too as well.
It was also still a pretty good film.
Yeah. Alright, I've only got two more left. Do you want to take another animated one if you've got another one that links nicely with that?
Yes, I will. So I will also bring up another film that has quite a jazzy feel, I'll say.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this one.
And that's Monsters, Inc.
Yes. Yeah, that's another amazing soundtrack.
So I have 2 Pixar films.
The Pixar music is really good.
Really is.
Because most of it's done by Michael Giacchino, to be fair.
Actually, Monsters, Inc. was Randy Newman.
Yeah. Yeah, and Randy Newman did... Because Randy Newman did the Toy Story ones as well.
Yeah. So I've got quite a couple little bits here. So it's like the whole soundtrack has like an overarching kind of like jazzy feel to it, like strong, like heavy bass lines. You know, like the double bass sound where it's like really like...
Yeah, like an upright bass.
Yeah. And a lot of like strong brass sections.
Yeah.
The makers of this film actually wanted Randy Newman to use this style because it was similar to his other films that he had worked on. And he also said if they didn't give him that kind of a direction, he had no idea what he was going to make for this film.
Yeah.
Because he just did not know what to fit with it. And I was like, no, something kind of like what you did for Toy Story.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, I guess I'll do that again.
We want it jazzy and happy and upbeat still.
So he really like watched the animation to try and get the music to fit the actions of the characters.
Yeah.
So, you know, like sometimes you will see like them walking and you'll hear like the bum 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 bum.
Yeah. Well, isn't it near the beginning where like all of the monsters, the stars are like walking out to the scare floor and it's that song and it's like the big epic like space takeoff music. What's it called?
I can't think of what it is, but I know what you're on about.
Yeah.
And it's also really interesting because when you watch this film, like it's a film about monsters, but they did the way that the music worked, you are scared of the little girl because they made the music so that she's so like she's this unknown creature, she is terrifying, and he put the music like that
because you're seeing the monsters are the normal and you're seeing it from their perspective.
Yeah. This was the first film to get Randy Newman an Academy Award for Best Original Song. Before this, he was nominated 16 times.
But didn't get any.
And he just wasn't getting any. But then, for If I Didn't Have You, which is like the main song that was released with the film, it was like it's a single, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was that one that actually finally got him a Grammy. Yeah, he got an Academy Award and a Grammy for Best Song Written for Visual Media. And this was his 4th film with Pixar as well. Like, so he'd already worked on like multiple films with them. Yeah. Got nominated so many times, but finally got one with Monsters Inc.
Isn't there songs as well that actually have the cast in as well?
Yeah, so that one's If I Didn't Have You, which is written by Randy Newman, but performed by Billy Crystal and John Goodman.
Yeah, so Mike and Sully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a really good...
Yeah.
It's a really good song because they add their characteristics to the song. I really like that. It's really heartwarming. Also, I just have a very big soft spot for John Goodman.
Yeah.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, like... it clearly is a good song. It won him a Grammy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Monsters Inc.
Okay.
It's such a good film.
My next one, I don't have a lot to say about it.
That's fair.
Stranger Things.
Yes.
The original soundtracks are composed by Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein of the electric band Survive. Not really listened to Survive before, but the music they did for Stranger Things is incredible. It's all original synthwave music, and it's just really good. Yeah. Like, it's just really solid synthwave. But the show also features songs, you know, like The Neverending Story from the film of the same name.
The Ghostbusters soundtrack.
Yeah. Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash. And it features a bunch of other really popular 70s and 80s songs because it's trying to be really heavily stylized into the era that it's in. So it's got a load of really good songs. I love the 70s and 80s era music more than most. So I like the little bits that they sprinkle in there. And the fact that it just interspersed with all of the really, like, creepy sci-fi synthwave stuff, it's just really cool.
Yeah, because the synthwave is just, you know, it sets the tone of the show, but the other songs give it, like...
It sets the era.
It's, like, context
Yeah,
thing. Like,
and it's contrasting as well. It contrasts from the darkness of, and it's just like, look, this is just the reality of these kids living in the the 70s.
Yeah.
It's cool. I would take another one, but it's my last one. So do you want to take another one?
I'll take another one then. This one's only a short one. I spoke about this in our last episode, actually.
Okay.
No? One before that. The last episode was body comedy. It's the one before that, which was Christmas.
Yes.
So that's Edward Scissorhands.
Mm-hmm. This is I can't think of his name.
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman. That's it. He's on my list as well. Not for one of the films, just for something I'm going to mention after.
Yeah. He's an incredible composer.
Yeah, he is. All of his music sounds like his music as well. He has such a specific style.
But he also doesn't. Like, he has been the composer for so many films.
Yeah, but I still think it...
Would you... Like, I wouldn't think of the same person who did the soundtrack for Edward Scissorhands did the thing for 50 Shades of Grey.
Did he do 50 Shades of Grey?
Yes, he did. I believe it was him that did it.
Oh, no, actually, I've got a list here, look. So he did, obviously... Because this is what I was going to mention after. He did Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride, obviously, and I was going to add them to my list, but they're they're technically musicals. So, and I believe I spoke about it on the musicals episode. But he did the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Alice in Wonderland, Dumbo, Good Will Hunting, all of the music for Men in Black and 50 Shades of Grey, Desperate Housewives, and some of The Simpsons as well.
Yeah, so... Like,
okay, yeah, no, so he I'm thinking of, like, the specific Danny Elfman style that he puts in a lot of his films, but no, I guess he can really go out of the box with a lot of these things. Yeah, he's really good at what he does, which is why I was going to talk about him at the end anyway.
So, there isn't a standout song for me in this soundtrack. They all are so well put together that it just creates one fluid, like, just musical experience. Like, you could listen to it without watching the film and it would still sound like a really good soundtrack. So instead of having like real big like showy things, it's all like strings and choirs.
Yeah.
That does for the soundtrack.
It's all really subtle as well.
Yeah, it's all really like wispy and
Christmassy.
Yeah, it is Christmassy, despite there only being one Christmas scene in the whole film. But I really just like that mystical, otherworldly feeling that it's soft, and I guess the choir adds like a kind of like innocence to the...
Yeah.
So when you're looking, like you...
Especially the type of choir music it is as well.
Yeah, it's just
it's
really
not like
I want to say high pitched.
Yeah, it's like kids choir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I consider that to be the kind of music I associate with Tim Burton, like.
Yeah.
That really atmospheric, dark, cold, kind of. I don't know. It's difficult to describe, but it has a specific feeling. But one thing I did find quite interesting about this is the film was originally written as a musical.
Yeah.
But that changed.
Thank God.
But, I say recently, in 2005, I believe it was.
Not recently at all.
Close
that was enough. So long ago now.
There was a show released called Edward Scissorhands, which is a contemporary dance show.
Oh.
So it has no words or anything. It's just basically the soundtrack and the same story, but as a dance.
Oh God. Yeah. No.
But Danny Elfman was involved in it, and so was the screenwriter for the film, Caroline Thompson, who also got involved to make a like Broadway dance show based on the exact same plot.
Well, if you're getting paid for it.
He got a couple of awards for it as well, the guy who did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anything else?
That's all I have to say about it.
Okay. Alright, so this is my last one.
Alright, here we go.
This is Freaks and Geeks.
Nice.
Now a TV show.
I haven't watched.
It's an old TV show. It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes again. So it's an incredibly popular show. Obviously, I'll mainly talk about the soundtrack though. So, soundtrack is filled with songs from the 80s. So obviously it's filled with bangers. Especially being the fact that it's set in high school in the 80s. The theme song is Joan Jett's Bad Reputation, which is already incredible. But it's also filled with other rock classics like, songs by Van Halen, The Grateful Dead, Styx, Santana, Deep Purple, Kiss, Janis Joplin. It's got the Monster Mash, the Halloween classic.
Yes.
Curtis Mayfield, Rush, Cream, Madness, Billy Joel, Journey, The Allman Brothers, Queen, The Who, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Black Flag, and so many more. It's also got covers that performed by the cast, such as Seth Rogen and Jason Segel doing covers of things.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's only got 18 episodes.
Oh my god.
Yep, the whole show has 18 episodes, but it has 120 songs. The hit-heavy soundtrack ate up pretty much the entire show's budget and actually caused publishing rights issues when the show was later syndicated on Fox, and again when it came for the DVD release. The soundtrack serves as like a framework for the series. It sits as a point of reference for the era and also the trends. But not only that, it also outlines the social status of the freaks whose fixation with rock and roll pushes them towards the outskirts of the school population. From Daniel Desario, who's played by James Franco's brief foray into the punk scene, to Nick, played by Jason Segel's secret affair with disco, to Lindsay Weir, played by Linda Cardinelli's decision to blow off academic pursuits and follow the Grateful Dead around the country. Like, the music of Freaks and Geeks serves as the foundation for all of the story of the show.
Yeah.
Because music was the most important thing for the teens at school during that time.
Yeah.
So and it shows all of the different sides of it, like the disco, the punk, the Grateful Dead. It's got all of that in it, and it's got so many incredible songs. Like, I couldn't. I'm not even going to bother listing them because there's 120.
Yeah.
And all of them are bangers, and they all just work so well with the storylines. And even though there's only 18 episodes, it's got 100% of Rotten Tomatoes, for Christ's sake, and it's got such a massive cult following.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, and it holds up. It's an old show, but it holds up. And the soundtrack alone, you don't need to watch the film to listen to the soundtrack, because the soundtrack is it's basically just an 80s playlist. and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So that's my my final one. Do you have any others to talk about?
Yes, I have my final one, which is another animated film.
Okay.
And I feel like this is out there when if you ask most people, especially our age, what film has the best soundtrack, you're going to get this as a response.
I really hope not.
It's Shrek 2. Come on.
If anyone told me their favourite soundtrack of all time was Shrek 2...
Not that their favourite, but the best.
It's still not the best. I mean, I give you it's a good soundtrack, but I'd be disappointed in someone if they told me it was the best soundtrack to them.
Well, it's an iconic soundtrack. Come on.
Okay.
I definitely would say it is an iconic soundtrack because it doesn't need to go as hard as it does.
Yeah, I'll give you that. They got budget after the success of number one.
I mean, number one also had some pretty good songs in it.
Yeah. It's DreamWorks, isn't it?
Yeah.
DreamWorks goes hard. They went hard with Kippo too. They're good when it comes to the music side of things.
So most of the songs that are in Shrek are songs that already exist.
Yeah.
And then
previously released.
Yeah, previously released and then got used in the film.
Yeah.
It does also have its own can't think of the word. We've been saying it so often. It has its own soundtrack, but yeah,
it has the compositions made for
that's
it.
why I meant composition. I didn't get what I was saying.
It's been a long day.
But it also has covers of songs that were recorded by the actors.
Yeah, well, like Eddie Murphy singing I Will Survive and stuff like that, right? I feel like that's a part of it. They have the whole X Factor thing at the end of the bonus
so that's
features,
what
right?
I wanted to mention. Jeez, you keep saying things.
I'm sorry.
Before I'm getting God.
You gotta fucking speed up, and No. I can't help but say it if I think of it. There's no filter.
So yes, there is a special features area on the DVD that was a karaoke game where the characters would sing other songs in an American Idol style competition.
Yes.
And then they actually released a CD of these covered tracks.
Yeah.
Like, as a separate thing.
It actually had Simon Cowell and stuff in it, right?
Yeah, so Simon Cowell also recorded a song. He
recorded the song?
Yeah, no, it wasn't him that did it. It was someone who did a voice, like, who overdubbed it, I guess. Someone filling in for him doing the singing role. But he was in the film. Or in that section of the film. So just a couple of the songs that are in it that definitely are worth shout out. So Accidentally in Love by Counting Crows.
Yeah, it's a great song.
When I think of Shrek 2, out of all of the songs that can come into my head, this is actually the first song that comes into my head because it's the opening scene.
Is it?
Yeah. It's when they're on their honeymoon.
Huh. Mine is definitely Funkytown.
Yeah, Funkytown. So that's like, as they're going through the streets, is like,
yeah.
I can literally think of the
It's when they've just taken the potion and they're walking through the streets and they're looking all hot and stuff, right?
No.
No?
No, it's when when they're first going into
yes.
Far away.
Yeah. And it carries on while Shrek's having the big fight and everything.
No?
Yeah?
I don't know what you're on about, Shaun.
When he's fighting the guards and...
That's a completely different
No,
scene.
it's not. I swear it's not. Have I just combined all of Shrek 2 into like one scene where it's just Funkytown going the whole way through? I think that's what my brain has done.
I would love to see an edit of that. Yeah, so Accidentally in Love, Living La Vida Loca, which was by Eddie Murphy and Antonio Banderas.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Has got Funkytown by Lips Inc. Changes by Butterfly Boucher and David Bowie. And then obviously the main one, the best cover of any song ever. Holding Out for a Hero by the Fairy Godmother. Yeah. Who's played by Jennifer Saunders. This song is actually incredible. It's one of the best covers that is out there. I'm sorry.
Tony, no. I'm sorry. No.
I don't care.
You can't ruin the whole reputation of our good word by saying these things.
I never had a good word, right? But yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about Shrek 2? After we've talked about Star Wars and like all of these absolute legendary classics, we're finishing up with Shrek 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's the caliber of this show.
Accidentally in Love was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Song. I will just give you that. Because it was good. It's a good film. Okay? I will die on this hill.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all of my best soundtracks.
Oh, God. Do you have any honorable mentions that you didn't get to...
Yes, Pirates of the Caribbean, just because that one really is like an iconic soundtrack. You hear it, you know exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
And Space Jam, just purely because of I Believe I Can Fly.
Wow.
It's a good moment in the film. I did consider putting 8 Mile in here, but then I realised that's more on the end of musical or musical documentary. Yeah. Rather than a good soundtrack, because it is very woven into...
Yeah, I was trying to steer clear of ones that were like based on a musician. Because then it's just like their albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So have you got some honourable mention?
Yeah, I've got a few more Pixar ones and some others. So I've got How to Train Your Dragons.
It's not dragons.
Sorry, How to Train Your Dragon. Sorry. Pretty much every Pixar film, but particularly the one that we watched most recently, which is Soul.
Oh my god, yes.
Incredible soundtrack. The Theory of Everything.
Oh yeah.
Which has an amazing, really beautiful soundtrack. WALL-E. Labyrinth.
Yes.
David Bowie. The Matrix, mainly because it has Rage Against the Machine. The Cornetto trilogy, because Edgar Wright just cannot do bad music in his films. Yeah, they're the main ones. And I wanted to just say, like, there's a few composers that we've already spoken about, and some we haven't, that kind of we just need to give a shout out to. Not that they need it, because they are like the biggest geniuses and have created essentially all of the big film and TV music that there are. Like, There's such a small few names that have created essentially like 90% of everything that we know as our culture.
Yeah.
And that's Michael Giacchino for all of his amazing work on films like Coco, Ratatouille, The Incredibles, Up, Doctor Strange, Rogue One. Like, all of their soundtracks are just so diverse, but he's just incredible. And he's received an Academy Award, a Primetime Emmy Award, and 3 Grammys.
Nice.
As of this thing, I imagine he's probably going to get more. Then there's obviously Danny Elfman that we've already spoken about. He composed over 100 feature film scores.
Nice.
Mad. And he's won loads of awards. He's won 4 Oscar nominations, 2 Emmys, a Grammy, 6 Saturn Awards for Best Music, the 2002 Richard Kirk Award, don't know what that is, the 2015 Disney Legend Award, the Max Steiner Film Music Achievement Award, and then there's Hans Zimmer. He hasn't come up yet, don't know how. German film score composer and record producer. Zimmer's works are notable for integrating electronic music sounds with traditional orchestral arrangements. Since the 1980s, he's composed music for over 150 films, including The Lion King, for which he won the Academy Award for Best Original Score in 1995, the Pirates of the Caribbean series, Interstellar, Gladiator, Crimson Tide, Inception, Dunkirk, Blade Runner, the Dark Knight trilogy, which is also an incredible music. He's received 4 Grammy Awards, 3 Classical Brit Awards, 2 Golden Globes, and an Academy Award, and was also named on the list of the top 100 living geniuses.
I mean, yeah.
Zimmer spent the early part of his career in the UK before moving out to the US. He is the head of the film music division at DreamWorks, and he has his own company called Remote Control Productions. And yeah, he's done everything.
He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, and he's worked on like every film ever. He's collaborated on multiple projects with Ridley Scott, Ron Howard, Gore Verbinski, Michael Bay, Guy Ritchie, Christopher Nolan. like chances are, if you're watching a film, 1 out of every 3 has probably been done by Hans Zimmer. The rest are done by these other people that we're mentioning.
He does a lot of sci-fi and action, I feel.
Yeah,
that's where he really shines.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Blade Runner soundtrack, like, I haven't seen Blade Runner, but I recognise the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a lot of sci-fi, a lot of action.
I'm a big fan of synthwave, though, and that's really fits into that.
Then we also obviously have John Williams, which I've already spoken at length.
Obviously.
And then my final one is one that not many people know about. Joe Hisaychi. I think that's what his name is. His actual name is Mamoru Fujisawa, but he's known professionally as Joe Hisaishi. He's a Japanese composer and musical director known for over 100 film scores and solo albums dating back to 1981. He's also known for his amazing piano scores. He is responsible for essentially every single Studio Ghibli film soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
So he makes the most pretty, beautiful soundtracks that I can imagine.
Atmospheric.
Yeah.
Like, really...
Really pretty, gentle piano.
Makes you want to frolic in a field. Yeah,
sure. Anything that you attribute to a Studio Ghibli film is partly responsible because Joe Hisaishi is partly responsible to that. So yeah, there's Joe Hisaishi, John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman, and Michael Giacchino. They're like the main composers that I wanted to shout out for being, responsible for making basically every film and TV show better.
Yeah.
And that's our list. They're our soundtracks.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed us chatting shit. I hope you check out our playlist because the soundtracks will all be there, hopefully.
Yeah.
And it will be good.
Yes, it will.
You will like it because they are fucking bangers. If you have any other soundtracks, film soundtracks that you want us to check out and you think we didn't mention,
or TV soundtracks,
or TV,
we're not biased.
Yeah, let us know at the As Yet Untitled podcast. You can
find us anywhere.
Yeah, on Facebook. Instagram, Spotify.
But yeah, just reach out to us if you wanna share an opinion.
Yeah, pretty much.
We like opinions.
Yeah, and go subscribe and follow and all that stuff. We're making a monthly podcast now. Mostly because I'm at uni and I'm tired. Yeah, I got a lot of teaching to do. Go watch our previous episodes. There's a link to a playlist somewhere around here. Here, and here. This isn't a video. We can't edit later to just point it. It's around. Right. Hope you're having a good time. Hope
Stay
COVID's
safe.
not doing too much bad things to you.
Hope you're having a good day today, specifically when you're listening to it.
Especially you. Yeah, you.
You know who you are.
All right.
Goodbye.
Speak at you next time.